Did you know that there's a simple, natural ingredient sitting in your pantry that could completely transform your health, energy, even your daily routines? It's been called a liquid miracle by health experts and everyday users alike. No, it is not some expensive superfood or supplement. And we're going to be delving into that right after this. I wish I could play music as well as these guys play our intro music.
Yeah, no kidding.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast Online TV Radio Network, restoring vitality to you and the planet. I'm your host, Scott Patton. Joining us, as usual, is our host, health coach, Martin Patella. Hey, Martin, how are you doing today?
Thanks. Good day. Good life. Surviving despite appearances.
And hi, George. Good to see you here. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, George. Thank you.
Santa has retired for the rest of the year until next Christmas.
The old faithful. I tell you, it's awesome.
Yeah. So before we get into our topic today, just want to remind everybody that we are uncensored on Telegram at the top of the hour, and it's t.me/life-ent-co. I'll put that in the comments for you, and we answer all your questions, and we tell you the way we see it, which unfortunately we still can't quite do here. So, Martin, what is the superfood that we want to talk about today?
Well, it's called Apple Cider Vinegar, ACV. Sometimes sold as apple cider vinegar with mother, which of course the mother is the gooey, sticky stuff that's making that whole product kind of looking like it's spoiled. But in fact, that's the stuff that you go for.
It's the good stuff.
Yes, ma'am, or sir, or everyone.
This has been used for like centuries. Like, this is not something that just, someone discovered in a lab, a few months ago. This is a long-standing concoction that people have used forever.
Yeah, exactly. How do we go about this? Well, benefits, right? Vinegar, ordinary vinegar. Well, apple vinegar. What? Oh, Scott, there are so many angles to it. I'm just struggling to pick where to start from. Okay, it's rich in potassium. It's rich in malic acid. It's rich in acetic acid, and it's helping to improve all manner of stuff in the body, digestion to begin with.
So, what do these acids do?
Well, in general, you have to have for the colon to be right, for the colon to be healthy, you need to be able to supplement with, no, not just supplement. You have to have sufficient amount of short chain fatty acids. And no, I said it badly, just short chain. Anyway, acidic, propionic, valeric, butyric, and lactic. All of those are supplying the acidity for the colon. And if you don't have enough of it, you're going to be suffering from colon troubles.
And we've talked about the digestive system before and how different sections of it have different pHs, or more acidic, more basic, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and exactly. As the apple cider vinegar goes through, it basically balances that pH. So if you're too acidic in one, it'll bring it up. If you're too basic in one, it'll bring it down, or vice versa.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Exactly that.
Another thing that it's been rumored to do is boost energy. And who doesn't want more energy?
Right. So, the potassium thing. when we there are 4 major minerals in human body. Calcium and magnesium are a pair. Sodium and potassium are a pair. And the sodium and potassium are involved in what's known as the sodium-potassium pump. And this pump is moving materials across the cell membrane. Sodium's
So
on
it's
the
a pump
outside.
of the cells, right? It puts stuff in and puts stuff out of the cells.
Yeah. Sodium on the outside, potassium on the inside. And they have to be in balance. And so if you, for example, eat a lot of protein, the metabolites of proteins are needing to be coming out of the cells, and you need to have more sodium, so you need to salt your steak. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem.
Okay.
However, potassium is really needed, especially for people who have too much sodium. And here's how you end up with too much sodium. Cortisol, the hormone that is released with stress, is causing sodium retention. So you have more sodium in circulation than would be ideal. So stress causes you to retain sodium, and that's going to go out of balance with potassium. And so taking potassium is a great way to help to metabolize the effects of stress.
And there's lots of that in the apple cider vinegar.
That's the one thing. Yes.
And of course, nobody has stress today. In today's world, we're pretty much all humming and sitting under trees, blissfully connecting with the Mother Earth, right?
Yes, it's exactly that.
And we're going to talk about another one, but I want to skip it because I want it to be last because there's a lot of myths about it. So the second last one we're going to talk about is detoxification and boosting your immune system.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that it's going to have something to do with our liver.
Right. So you want to talk about that or not talk about that?
Yeah, I want to talk about that. The one I don't want to talk about, I didn't bring up.
Yeah, it's okay. Apple. The key word is apple. Malic acid is what makes apples sour. The most sour apple being Granny Smith. That is the one I'm familiar with. And the malic acid is used to soften the gallstones or the stuff that would be otherwise stuck in your gallbladder. So when you have sufficient amount of malic acid, you're going to be flushing your liver with greater efficiency without the gallbladder problems. So the malic acid in the apple a day keeps a doctor away.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, wouldn't you know, right?
Cool. And that, of course, is going to boost your system. It's going to help you with detoxification.
Right.
And,
so cleaner liver means that you will be better at 1 sec. I just need to put something into voicemail. You need to be better at what shall we call it? Well, the liver has 3 major functions, right? Generating glycogen, which means sugar, which means the blood glucose, which means energy in the body. It also looks after detoxification, methylation, right? So if you have a clogged up liver, you will be a poor energy converter or manufacturer, and you will be poor at detoxification, which means that you're going to be troubled by
all sorts of things.
Yeah, performance, right? It's sort of like in your automobile, if you have a clogged fuel filter and clogged air filter, your engine's going to perform poorly because there's not enough fuel and not enough air. Like that.
Cool. So it really seems like it's something everybody should be taking every day. The myth that I wanted to talk about, and it's also the fourth thing of the key benefits, is that this is a magic weight loss cure. Like you will guzzle the apple cider vinegar and you will drop weight like crazy.
Magically. Well, that's a bit of a myth. That's no guarantee, because it only works if you're out of balance with potassium, or only if you are out of balance with your liver performance, right? So if you have a liver issue, then helping to cleanse the liver of the stuck bile is awesome, and it will help.
Right.
but no
Yes, because
guarantee.
people do get good results from it, but you can't drink a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and eat 3 donuts.
Okay, yeah, I go with that. And it's a tablespoon twice a day. And
Tablespoon twice a day.
yeah, and
Okay,
yes, if you live a silly life, then you're not going to be better.
right, right. Yeah, it is not. We keep talking about this. It is not a uh, easy button. You just push this button and everything works. Even if you're doing everything wrong, you have
Yeah.
to have a good foundation. George brings up triglycerides.
Right. Okay. So there's a straightforward pathway for this. If you have too much glucose in circulation, meaning you eat more starch than you should, that breaks down into glucose. Insulin gets marshaled to act on that, and that will convert the. It's a complex cascade, but the steps are glucose to triglycerides to belly fat in shortcuts, right? So the triglyceride is essentially an indicator that you have eaten more starch than you should have, and you're going to be putting it on your hips or your belly.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the triglyceride story. So if your triglycerides are high, the doctor should be telling you switch to a ketogenic diet, or at least less starch in your inputs.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how to use it effectively. You said 2 tablespoons, right?
Yeah.
So would you? And we actually have a recipe for a apple
Mhm.
cider vinegar drink, which we'll share in a minute. But
I'd split it into 2, and I would eat it with my major meals. I would incorporate it into salad dressings, or at least into the drink before I eat, because, right, your stomach actually wants to be acid in order to deal with foods effectively. So drinking some acid before dinner or before lunch is not a bad idea.
right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So here we've just got a few minutes. Well, actually, we're doing really good.
Oh, we're paddling through fast.
Paddling
Like water.
a little faster than we normally go. But I'm going to share to our screen now a apple cider morning drink.
Right on.
So 1 or 2 tablespoons of raw unfiltered apple cider with the mother. We've talked about that. So what you would recommend is 1 tablespoon in the morning and then 1 in the
Yeah.
late and before you eat, right?
Yeah, before you eat. It's a big hit, really. It's pretty strong.
It is really strong. 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice.
Yeah, that's for taste, but it's
Yeah.
good. And guess what? Lemon juice also is rich in potassium.
Yeah. And it
good-
helps the liver, right?
Yeah,
And then a teaspoon of raw honey or maple syrup.
right. We want something sweet with glucose that's going to help make it taste acceptable, right?
Right. And then
a glass of water.
Yeah, warm or room temperature water. So why is freezing cold water not that good to drink compared to room temperature?
I've already forgotten why, but I have not ever drunk water other than at room temperature. Now, there is a trick drinking really warm water. It's like tea without the tea, right? Before bedtime, and people have been using it for weight loss. Just drinking warm or as hot as you can drink it water.
Oh, okay. Well,
it does something. I don't know what it does. I'm sorry. We'll have to look it up. You have to educate me this time.
Well, I know that the Chinese drink green tea with dinner. And,
Yes.
and the reason that they told me they do it is it breaks down all the fats that are in the food that they.
Yeah, that would be the alkaloids in the tea.
Yeah. And
Sure.
it gets it out. So you.
But I'm still struggling with the reasoning why you'd want to have it warm rather than ice cold.
I think it has to do with absorption. If it's cold, we kind of close up a bit and we don't absorb as much.
Something to that, I hope.
Yeah.
All right. And last piece, a pinch of cinnamon. And it's interesting. They talk about flavor boost here, and then they throw in an additional health benefit. Cinnamon is one of those the regulators of insulin. It
Ah,
helps regulating insulin. So if you're on a glucose management program, cinnamon will help.
and if you're just normal, which would mean you're a little bit or a lot overweight, maybe, maybe you haven't gotten to the point where you have to see the doctor about diabetes, but this would be something that if you were doing it for years would probably help, because the biggest problem we have seems to be with this insulin, regulating it and getting it right.
Yeah.
The sugar spikes, in other words, right?
Yeah, right. You know
All
what's
right,
interesting? I'm looking over this recipe and I'm thinking, would you look up a recipe for or not recipe, ingredients, what's in Pedialyte or Pediasure, which is the drink that's recommended for children who are suffering from dehydration when they're ill with throwing up or fever. And I saw a commercial just recently that was pushing Pediasure on anyone, any grown-up. And I'm thinking, okay, what's in there? And I'm looking at the ingredients, and they're saying there is potassium citrate, potassium sorbate, dextrose, sodium chloride. And so I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, they're trying to replenish electrolytes. And so I'm looking at this apple cider vinegar drink, and the only thing that's missing here is a pinch of salt. And the reason you want to have a pinch of salt with it is because you want to replenish not just the potassium, but also the sodium.
So would it make a difference if it is the typical table salt that you buy at the grocery store, or if it was Himalayan or sea salt?
Yeah. Remember my list of the 5 things you should never have in your house or in your intakes? Refined sugar, refined flour, refined salt, and refined seed oils, plant seed oils, plus dairy. All right. So, yeah, I think the Himalayan is spelled a little differently. But any unrefined salt, right? If you see the word refined on your salt, use it on your sidewalk in cold climate for de-icing.
Right. So there you go. A tablespoon of raw, unfiltered, organic apple cider vinegar. Do you have a brand preference?
You know, Bragg's used to be so good, and they sold to some big company, and they changed the formula. There's much less of the mother in the one with the mother. So I don't know who to go with. I mean, Bragg's, Braggs, used to be the go-to. I don't know what the go-to is now.
Yeah. So check the labels of the ones around Bragg, because there's more than one brand. And I brought it up for that very reason, is it was excellent. And then all of a sudden everyone was like, no, they made some changes. It's not as good as it was. And then some fresh lemon juice, some raw honey or maple syrup. Us Canadians want you to have lots of maple syrup in your diet. And then some warm room temperature water, a pinch of cinnamon, and a pinch of either sea salt or Himalayan salt, unrefined salt, regardless.
And interestingly, George is coming up with his recipes. He's such a, like, here's a guy who really knows the basics, and he knows it well. Like, for example, so that's the answer for cold water. It will put a cramp in your stomach, I suppose. Or Well, George, I will disagree. In Germany, you will get a cold beer with anything you want.
But he says he drinks this every morning with 2 grams of Utah salt. Yeah, you've got the big Salt Lake there.
That's actually a fairly hefty dose. I was going to go for 1 gram. Well, okay. For anyone who works out, for anyone who expects to sweat, 2 grams is not high. But if you're just a basic office worker who doesn't sweat every day, 1 gram is fine.
Cool. All right. So you add it to a glass, you squeeze in the juice, you stir in the honey and maple syrup,
Yeah.
and then you pour in your water, mix it, and do your pinches, down it. Now, one thing I just wanted to bring up before we head over to Telegram was some people have a tendency to overdo things. And so if you're like, oh yeah, this apple cider vinegar, 2 teaspoons a day, that sounds good. But what if I drink like 10 teaspoons a day? And I've heard that it may impact your teeth because it's very acidic, right?
Right. Okay. Any acidic drink, which includes the what is that
Coca-Cola.
acid? Which includes phosphoric acid, as known in Coca-Cola and others. So drink that with a straw, so it doesn't hit the front side. So you're hitting the back of the mouth, and out it goes.
So if you were doing this particular drink twice a day, 1 teaspoon in the morning, 1 teaspoon in the afternoon,
That's
then you
tablespoon.
would want to use tablespoon. You'd want to use a straw,
Perhaps.
or is that's not enough?
I mean, in 8 ounces of water, it's quite mild.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And the other thing too, like I have a real problem with the taste. I haven't done it enough. I did it like a month, and it was just like, oh, it's terrible. So if there are other other flavors that you like maybe a carrot juice or an orange juice or an apple juice.
Why would you want to spoil a good glass of carrot juice with apple cider vinegar?
To get it down. To get it down.
Make it smaller, less water, right? Just knock it back. Yeah, George.
Do a shot.
Acquired taste. Well,
it is an acquired taste.
It is highly acquired. I personally don't like it.
No, me neither. Right? Like, and Martin, the green things that I have drunk for years that have, they taste much better today than they did 10, 20 years ago. And and I, like George says, acquired the taste. But for some reason, it just is really hard with the apple cider vinegar. And I'm, determined to use it because I think it'd be really good.
Let's start with not everybody needs to do that. Biological individuality has the upper hand. And honestly, your body is telling you what you need. Stuff that you enjoy more is you need more of. Like if you need more salty foods, it's probably because your adrenals need it and want it and whatever, right?
I don't think wanting donuts falls in that category, Martin.
Okay, that's a God. Okay, sure. I don't know what to do with that.
It's sugar, right? So this would be a good time to bring up that URL might change. Martin is a health coach.
It will work even after we go to the new site.
Okay, so Martin is a health coach. If you want to go to this URL, I'll put it in the description so you don't have to type it all out. Or you want to just go to life-enthusiast.com, call the phone number. Martin answers the phone, or his wife Maureen may answer the phone. And he's quite happy to schedule some time with you.
Scott, you're behind times. We have now so many wonderful people on staff.
Oh.
We now have qualified people that are, well, I've worked with them for now over a year, 2 for some, 3 for another. And so it's less chance of Maureen and small chance of Martin. I'm really busy working on the website conversion. This is a soft launch announcement real soon, any day now.
Good.
Anyway, I've been a busy boy.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's in the comments if you want to schedule a time with Martin or one of his coaches. And I think that's a really good idea. It's the first 15 minutes are free, and then you can decide if you want to go longer. And we're
okay.
What else? Oh, so we have a brand of superfoods, Martin.
Yes, that we make ourselves.
That we make ourselves. And so let's talk a little bit about the Exla superfoods.
Right.
And so in terms of apple cider vinegar, because I didn't know this.
Yeah. So we can buy, and we do, apple cider vinegar powder. So it's the same stuff except minus water. And we do use that as an ingredient in our superfoods. We put it in there. Power Teen has it. Power Slim has it. I think it's in most of them. It's a great support for your digestion.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Does Strataflora have it? Did you say Strataflora?
Oh, yeah, it would have it. Yeah.
Okay. Good. And so I put a link to the...
Right. Now, remember, it's not in the huge amounts. It's not the equivalent of tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in your 2 teaspoons. It's not. But there's enough in there to help balance the minerals, the malic acid, the potassium, and all the other bits that you should have in your body.
Yeah. So any last word on apple cider vinegar?
Well, if you find yourself overweight, if you find yourself with high level of blood glucose, if you find yourself falling asleep after meals, it's probably a good thing for you. Yeah. And if your liver is sluggish, which means you're suffering from allergies or bloatiness and whatnot, then do that. And if you hurt in the right quadrant under your rib cage, like just under the rib cage, then your liver needs help, and apple cider vinegar is probably a good thing. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So next week, we're going to be talking about how to stop bloating permanently. Eliminate it.
Let the gas out.
Let the gas out. So yeah, like sometimes when we think we're fat, we're not fat, we're bloated.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you look in the mirror at night before you go to bed and you've got a big belly, and then you get up in the morning and it's slim, then you didn't lose all that fat overnight.
Yeah.
It was
I actually have a direct personal experience with this.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And just to foreshadow a little bit, February is Heart Month. So we're going to be talking about hearts for all of February. Make sure you
February, especially on the 15th, we're going to be talking about.
That's right. All right. So join us over at wrong one. Over at Telegram. Yep. T.me/life&co. And I'll put this in the comments as well. And let's just see. We've had Skylar says, good info on apple cider vinegar. Thank you very much. George says, great. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This has been the Life Enthusiast Online TV and Radio Network, restoring vitality to you and the planet. See you over on Telegram. Bye-bye.
Bye.